רדיו.
עוד יותר, יוצרי התוכן של ישראל.
Shoutout, הפודקאסט של G-CMO. המקום שבו מקבלים השראה, חופרים, מעמיקים ובעיקר מרימים לסמנכלי השיווק הגלובליים בישראל.
שלום, שלום, אתם במקום הנכון, בפודקאסט של G-CMO Shoutout, חסויות, VO, סוכנות קריאיטיב ותוכן שמתמחים בעולם של הפקת תוכן, וידאו, הפקות לייב וקריאיטיב עבור חברות טק, והם מעולים. ויש לנו את אדיו, שהיא השותפה העסקית של ספוטיפיי פה בארץ. והיום זה הולך להיות קצת אחרת. אם אתם גם קוראים ככה מתחת את מה שכתוב לקראת הפודקאסט, אז אתם תראו שהפודקאסט היום יהיה באנגלית. שזה עבורי יהיה קצת אתגר. אז, אבל במקום שהמרואיין שלי יאתגר את עצמו, אני אאתגר את עצמי. ואם אני נזכת, אז אתה קצת תעזור לי. Okay? So this one's going to be in English for the people who are, I know, are just as scared as me to do it. Challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. This is where the magic happens. So I'm really happy to have you here with us, Michael Yehושע. And why don't I let you explain what it is that you do, because it's more than one role, and you've been doing a lot. So give us your title, your spiel before we start.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm a CMO at 2 cybersecurity companies simultaneously. So it was actually one company that split into 2. So one of them is a services company. One of them is an actual
And it's an Israeli
product.
company, so they saved money and they said, we won't bring someone, well, you'll just like double your work.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah, you know how it is. So again, 2 very different teams, different CEOs, different go-to-markets. Balancing all that out is definitely a challenge, but a welcome challenge. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun doing it.
Okay, we are going to go back and still ask you the same question that we ask every person that does this with us. As a teenager, or, you know, for you it's different because you're not from here. You grew up in
New York.
New York. So good they had to name it twice. What was your like brand that you aspired for, or thought was? Okay,
I'm going to throw a curveball at you, and I'm going to go with Ford Mustang.
That's such a curveball. You're a boy, you're a guy, you like cars. Mustang is like an all-American. But what was so special about it for you?
So as a kid, I was more of like an inquisitive, nerdy type of child.
Shocking.
And I remember asking my dad, I'm like, Dad, I don't get it. All my friends are obsessed with these car posters and, Lamborghinis and Corvettes and Mustangs. And like, what's the point? I mean, the car goes fast, but it's very expensive. It's not really practical. I didn't use those terms, but I said, we can't fit so many people in there. It's very large. And I don't get it. And my dad taught me a lesson that I'll never forget. He told me, when you sit behind the wheel of a Mustang and you feel the roar of the engine, and you smell that burnt rubber, you smell the leather seats, you hit the gas and the car starts flying forward, you're in love.
Was he a marketeer, your dad?
No,
he sounds like, okay.
No, he told me you're in love. And when you're in love, you become blind to all the other things that are not so practical per se.
True.
And it really changed the way that I thought about things, because as I grew up, I understood that we are not rational human beings. And we make a lot of decisions that actually don't make a lot of sense. And if I can turn my brand into something that people love, and they will purchase despite the shortcomings that we have in the product or in the service, and people love the product, people love the people that are giving the service to the product.
Are we still on Mustang? Because this is what happens when you like interview with American people. It goes like, okay.
Well, Mustang was sort of like opened up the door for all of that. And that's why
like provoked that kind of thinking that later on became.
Yeah. And that's how it all happened.
That's cool. Do you drive a Mustang today? Did you ever drive a Mustang? Did you own one?
So when I had the money to buy a Mustang, I'm like, I want a Lexus.
Okay, so that's what happens with things that we aspire when we're young. Okay, we usually start, and I like this part because we're not all born CEOs of not one, but just 2 companies. And I think your journey is even more interesting because, you made a conscious decision to make Aliyah, which I have a lot of respect for, but it does, present a lot of challenges. In some ways, and, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's like two careers. It's like having that career and then, so why don't you take us through it? Not in a very long, winding American way, just like have fun with it.
Sure. My career actually started in sales. It was in diamond sales, where I was actually selling diamonds.
How old were you?
I was 17 years old.
Okay.
I was in college. So I was working full-time, and I was in college full-time in the evenings. And I wanted to get out of college without any debt, and that's why I took on the job. So...
Is that possible to like work through college and actually like pay off all your debts while you're, yeah?
And buy your mother a Lexus, yeah. I've done it all.
Good
so
job.
I'll tell you how it all started.
Okay.
I started working as a door-to-door salesman. Really, the CEO would give me 5 stones, chamish avani, right? Go take 5 diamonds, show them to all the people.
50s of you.
Go door to door and just try to sell. And I did it for 2 weeks, banging my head against the wall, knocking on doors, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And then I said, you know what? This is just sales. And if you're not going to do any market research, you're not going to get anywhere. So I figured out a solution. There was a website where all the diamond dealers list all the diamonds that they have on sale. And so the next day, I researched one specific company that I would go to. And I looked in his stock and I saw what he was missing. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to him with this stone tomorrow. Let's see if that makes a difference. So I asked the CEO, give me the regular 5 stones, but instead of, the usual, give me 1 stone specifically. He said, okay, take it. And I went to this person and I show him just this 1 stone. He's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed. And he gave me an offer. And that was the first time I ever got an offer, from 2 weeks of doing this everywhere. And I said, wait a second. Why don't I start doing this every day?
The market research.
The market research, yeah. And then I realized that instead of working for 9 hours or banging doors and just trying to get anywhere and not getting anywhere, if I do the research before and I come organized, I just go to 5 places, I get 2, 3 offers, I'm having a much better day than I had the previous. And so I started applying the stuff that I learned in college to my day-to-day work. And I started seeing a difference. And then I had my first sale. Then I made my first $1 million sale at 19. And then little by little, I started to pay my way through college. And when I graduated college, I graduated with literally no debt. And I just was able to go right into the real world.
I learned quite a few things. A, although he's very young, he had like a 1950s salesman position. And B, I guess diamonds are forever. Okay, so you did this for 3 years, sold diamonds.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you said that you took stuff from applied what you just learned in college because you were studying
marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
Marketing,
cool.
Business management, psychology. It was really, really interesting. From then on, I tried getting into the world of marketing. I worked as an intern at some large agency in New York City for free. From then on, I took a bunch of other smaller marketing roles, had a little stint with studying law, ended up working at the Supreme Court for a bit, but I'm not going to get into there. But little by little, I started to get into the world of marketing, and I found a position at a media and photography company.
Okay.
And basically, I worked my way up to be their VP marketing, and something very interesting happened. The leads that we were getting were turning into SQLs very quickly. But
we have to do this.
SQLs, sales qualified leads.
Unlike MQLs, which are marketing qualified leads. But yes, go on.
Sales qualified leads means salesperson says these people are ready to buy.
They're going to be money for us.
Now, we were only converting SQL to sale 20%, which meant 80% of our SQLs were just going to waste. And my CEO calls me into his office and says, we might have a problem with your marketing.
It's always the marketing. Blame the marketing. That will work.
There was something very strange going on the sales side. I actually asked the CEO to put security cameras, and we actually were able to catch the VP sales actually calling the direct competitor and offering all the SQLs to the competitor to put in his own pocket. So he was actually sabotaging the company and trying to earn
Why were you suspicious of him in the first place? Wow, that's a story.
You told me to be short, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the guy was a shady guy.
Wow.
Anyways, he gets fired.
Okay.
CEO looks for a VP sales immediately because it's a very seasonal business. You only sell like 2-3 months of the year, and we couldn't find anybody. So I told the CEO, listen, I was the #1 sales producer at a diamond company.
Door-to-door diamonds.
I know I got all the leads. Let me see if I can help change that from, the 20% that we're converting. And long story short, we were then able to close 90% of all SQLs into sales. The company grew exponentially, grew like 150% in the first year, and then in year 2 by an additional 600%. And the team grew from the small little team to something exponential, 3 locations. Eventually, the company got so big that it almost collapsed. And the CEO ended up telling me, Michael, I can't deal with this growth anymore. Go to my direct competitor, take all of your customers with you. And I was a sales executive for the direct competitor for until I made my Aliyah.
That's an interesting story. So now let's talk about Aliyah. Okay. I know this is not marketing related, but why did you decide to come? I mean, it sounds like you had a pretty, like a good job. You made good money. You didn't even have student loans because you paid them off. You bought your mom a Lexus. What made you decide to leave all that behind and come here?
So we grew up in a house that's very Zionistic. We always loved coming to Israel. We always grew up coming to Israel for vacations. And we wanted to bring our success to Israel, despite the hardships, despite the difficulties, despite the income tax killing us over here. And despite all those difficulties, we decided we're going to try, at least we're going to do the best that we can to bring our success to Israel. And we were going to do it or die trying. And I'm glad that we did it. And it's actually one of the better decisions that I made. And a big thank you to my wife for convincing me to.
Your wife is Israeli, right? She went with you.
She went with me to the U.S.
7 years or so, and then you came back here.
Correct.
Okay, and you come back and you're all this like marketing and salesperson. I'm saying this not because I know the answer, just because like I know what happens.
Yeah.
No one's really waiting. Open arms. So did you have to like generally start from scratch, like from beginning? How do you?
It was completely. Had to start completely from scratch. It was to eat a little bit of humble pie, which meant that nobody really cared about all the things that I've done. Only thing is like, oh, you can speak English. That's really, really good. Can you be an SDR and work American hours? And that's what I had to do. And I did it for
the SDR for a shady company.
I did the SDR for a shady company for 2 months, and the bastards never paid me. So that was a welcome to Israel moment.
A lot of people go through that. That's
very sad. From then on, I was managing social media for events, and I was getting paid 200 shekels a night.
Wow, that's
so much
huge,
money.
Yes.
Yeah. And then from then on, I went on to do any type of content marketing that I could. I mean, writing blog posts for jewelry that no one wanted to buy and just banging my head against the wall. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? And this was for a good 6-7 months where I was like, did I make the right decision here? Should I head back? And then I got a breakthrough. I got a phone call from a recruiter. I sent a resume a few years back. It took them about 2.5 years to get back to me. And they said, hey, listen, there is a cybersecurity company here in Israel. They're looking to hire sort of like a junior marketing director. You're sort of like a one-man show. You have a small budget. You don't have a team. You sort of got to do everything on your own. Are you willing? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll do it. And needless to say, that's been a tremendous success. The company ended up growing exponentially under the small marketing team that we had. Of course, kudos. It's a great product.
That probably
great
grew
team.
Yeah.
They even got an offer to be acquired at a very, very large amount of money. They decided to turn it down, bet on themselves, take a round C investment. But the success that I've had leading the marketing in such a short period of time was enabled me to get another offer as a VP marketing. And so I was VP marketing again after 1.5 years, which was really, really amazing.
Actually, I don't want to sound, but some people take longer than that to
I was
get
a VP
back
marketing. That's just I just needed to prove that I can do it here too. And then taking a small company, taking it all the way from zero to exit, took me about 4 years. That was quite a challenge. And then from then on, I got my big breakthrough to become a CMO here in Israel. And that was a year and 9 months ago.
How did this big breakthrough? I mean, did someone open a door for you? Which is also a question I always like to
Correct.
ask.
Yeah, I was being hunted by a recruiter, and she told me, listen, they are desperate. They're willing to pay. Just show up. And,
That would do it, yeah.
And, I showed up to the interview. I came very well prepared, as you should always do in a job interview. And yeah, they gave me the role. They gave me a team. They gave me a budget. And things were going really, really well until, of course, October 7th. But until then, things were going great. Company was having a lot of growth, and we were having a lot of success. And listen, we did it.
I wanted to say something when you said I showed up to the interview, and in my line of work, I used to be a recruiter for 10 years, and there's a huge difference between interviewing an Israeli person and an American candidate. We used to actually laugh about it in the sense that it was such so like the Israelis, they come with their flip-flops, and then you interview an American person, they come with a suit, and you're like, one time I was asked, are you here for this for the interview? Is it, yeah. So I guess my question would be, as a marketeer, what are the most distinct, differences that you see, running, a marketing team here and running a marketing team in US? Because essentially you're going through this, you're targeting the same audience, right? But doing it from here and doing it from there, I bet has a lot of different concepts to it, or maybe I'm just...
No, not necessarily. It's pretty similar. In Israel, it's a little bit more startup-y, where things are the train is running, and you still need to lay the track while the train is running. Whereas in America, that's a little bit more organized and less chaotic. But we live for the chaos. So.
But do you feel that maybe that's one of your actual trade, an advantage, that you come and you can bring some, order into our, sense of urgency, not always...
Not necessarily. It's more of understanding the market and understanding the mentality of the market. So okay. Israelis know how to build really great products. They know how to create and to think about really good things. But if you're trying to sell the products like an Israeli sales person is trying to sell, a hummus or a shawarma, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work in the States. People in the States, they need to make very informed decisions. They need to really, really have that belief. They really need to have that trust. You need to have sort of a brand behind your back. Whereas more in Israel, it's oh no, the product will sell itself. Like the diamonds, they'll sell themselves. And again, if you don't know your audience, and if you don't know what the people are looking for, and you're just being a door-to-door salesman, you're not going to get very far. And that's a problem that some Israeli CEOs have to deal with, because they just don't understand the American mentality, and they just don't understand, wait a second, why isn't it working?
I think we also have this thing, we'll try it in Israel. If it works here, it will work anywhere. Not necessarily. And I think the second thing that we do that's kind of I guess arrogant out of us is to think that, U.S. is so big. It's not just, San Francisco and New York, which we know because they're high tech. In the middle, there's that big chunk, most of the U.S., which they don't speak the way that we do. And I think that's a big miss for, us being kind of, what do you think about that?
You're right.
I like to hear that, but I'm right. Okay. I have this question that I like to ask because, and you asked me what did I mean by this question, and talking about the against all odds campaign. So the reason we asked that is basically because what's going here, and we were all part of the High Tech Delivers campaign. Can you recall a campaign that was against all odds?
Yeah, it was actually insane.
Okay, good.
Many years ago, actually, the position previous, I was trying to think outside the box. Again, a very small company, small budget, and I really wanted to take a very complex and difficult story and turn it into something that can be understood by a younger audience, or just a more simple, just a simple way of taking something complex.
And you didn't have chat to say, write it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. You have to do it yourself. Okay.
And so I came up with an idea of turning my product into a comic book, a cyber security superhero comic book. It was a very, very big hit. People were lining up to take it everywhere. Even here in this office, I'm seeing rip-offs of my own work, which is amazing. It's a very big compliment. And so, listen, it was a lot of fun and it was great. And when I joined,
You wrote the comics?
Okay. So first I drew them and then I sent it to a real publishing company in New York City, and they actually went
for
ahead.
This particular product, for the cyber
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then over time I started, using my team to write and stuff like that. Anyway, so when I joined this new company as a VP marketing, my daughter, who was 6 at the time, says, "Daddy, can you tell me about what you do at your new company?" And I told her, "Yeah, of course. You know what? I'll draw you a comic book." And
That's
she tells me
the idea.
And she tells me, "Dad, can you draw me a girl superhero? Because last time it was a boy. I want you to draw a girl for me." And I'm like, "Sure, no problem."
I love your daughter.
She's amazing.
Okay.
She even has the same name as you. Anyways.
I didn't know that.
Anyways, I draw her this comic book, and it was just for fun. It was for, to give out at conferences. It was a cute thing. We were in talks with a big company called Oracle, if you recall.
Might have heard of it. I think they're going to make it. I would.
Yeah. And, I sort of shared with them this comic book that I did. And,
for your daughter.
And they shared it within their own company. And it gets to Larry Ellison, CTO and founder. And he's like, "Bring this guy over to my house." And I fly out to San Francisco to Oracle Open World. He gave me a few places to speak at his event. He put me on his podcast. He put me on stage to speak in front of his 72,000 customers. Again, it was Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and they saw a woman like a fronted superhero, and they wanted to, to help out a smaller startup. And this took really a small, anonymous startup competing in a very competitive space and just put us all the way up to the top. And the brand recognition the company got ever since then has been tremendous. And it's one of the stepping stones that helped the company to later get acquired. But again, that was a campaign against all odds that, again, cost very little. It was just a little bit of creative thinking and a lot of luck from the one above, and it just worked.
Michael, you might just won that question throughout our whole podcast.
Wow.
Cha-ching. Yes, that was wow. Okay, now we have to counter that. And although you talked a lot about success, I'm sure there were some that were less successful. What's your most traumatic? Tell us about your traumatic campaign.
There were more failures than successes, just to be fair. But one of the biggest ones happened with Microsoft. Microsoft acquires LinkedIn, and LinkedIn.
That wasn't that long. It was 5 years ago or something, right?
A little bit longer.
A little longer.
Yeah,
okay.
And they acquire LinkedIn, and they try to get into the Israeli market. They want cybersecurity marketers to throw all their budget into LinkedIn. They succeeded, by the way.
The leads there are so...
And what happened was the Ireland office actually met with me at one of the events and says, "Hey, would love to give you some LinkedIn cash. It's like $500 or 500 euros or something. Just play with our system and see if you can get anything out of it. And if you like it, put in more money in the future." I meet a friend of mine who works at McCann, and he does this day to day, and he teaches me all the ins and outs of using the platform, and I have free money. So I connect my business account, and I start doing all the tricks that this friend teaches me, and I'm starting to get really, really good leads to the point where I'm closing deals, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I show my manager at the time, and I tell him, "Hey, listen, can I have a budget next month?" And he says, "Sure, here, take a budget of $1,000. Today, it's nothing."
Which is twice what you got.
Which is twice what I got. And that $1,000 turned into $1 million deal in the pipeline, which later was a closed one. And with spending $1,000 to get an ROI of $1 million, that's not normal.
Do you remember this is a failure story?
Wait. I'll tell you why it's a failure.
Okay.
So the lady from LinkedIn asked me, "Hey, so how was the campaign? How did it go?" And I told her, "Listen, it's been the greatest thing ever." And she said, "Is it okay if I turn this into a case study for Microsoft so we can get more customers?" Like, "Yeah, of course." So what do? They turn it into a case study, and then Microsoft is like, "How the heck is this guy getting such good leads?" And then it turns out that I discovered a flaw in their algorithm that allows me to outsmart the algorithm and to get really, really qualified leads. And once they found out that I discovered it, they patched it, they fixed it. And then for 2 years, I was never able to come close to that level of success, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and not being able to replicate it. And the lesson is, if you're successful, shut your mouth.
That's exactly what I say about sleeping babies. If your baby slept through the night, do not brag about it because that will be the last night you'll ever get. But that's also a good story because not only did you you actually succeeded for yourself, but then you've
and then I
failed
failed
the rest of us from doing that. So
and now I'm
thank
figuring
you.
it out again. Yeah.
Okay. So Michael, you're like a recent joiner
Yes.
to GCMO. So do you want to say something about that? Like,
Yeah.
how do you, how do you feel it? We're all speaking in Hebrew and you're the only, no, I'm kidding. But
Well, I think it's a great community. It's a very unique community because it's a lot of like-minded individuals that are a very senior level. Most of the events that we go to are sort of like, are for content or for social media or very, very junior oriented. This one is for the CMOs, for the top marketing leader, the content, the speakers. It's all on the highest possible level. And networking with the people has been tremendous. It's been a tremendous help for the careers of many. We all give back to the community. We're mentors. Soon we're doing a cybersecurity program where I'm going to be a speaker. I'm helping the GCMO with some of the stuff with the new website and some of those other things.
And it makes me really happy because we do spend a lot of time trying to think of the best curation and best content. And then every time we go, it's it's the networking, which is great. We won't go back with not having the best content, but I do like it that, it's, and I think we saw it very much during Corona and during the war.
Yeah.
And how we came for each other. Okay. So we have about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Because it went by really fast. I am going to do with you the associative, whatever comes to mind. But wait, I have to do it while I translate it to English. So, okay. So what would be the best professional compliment that you ever got?
Oh, you mean this? Like when someone actually goes and copies all of your work?
No, but seriously, does this look like the thing that you've actually done?
Yeah, it's like the same size and in the same format. And it's not the first one. I've seen maybe 20 or 30 of them over the years.
And now, seriously speaking, do you see, you view it as a compliment that someone copies your work? I mean, we all should, but we usually get snappish about it. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, first I get really upset. I'm like,
Oh,
those
and
mother
then-
effers. And then
okay.
afterwards, look back at it and say, you know what? I meant I did something right. You know what that means? It's time to reinvent and to do it all over again. Because when you see, very large organizations go ahead and rip off your work, and it's not just this, it's like a million of other ideas that I've done, and you see people rip it off, it's like, you know what? People are looking up to us. And that sort of flips the script. Like, we're not like a little goldfish. We're actually the shark. We're the thought leaders. We're the ones who are pushing the narrative in the market.
We're not the goldfish, we're the shark.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Which campaign would they put you in? Like if tomorrow needed a presenter for a campaign, which would be a good campaign for Michael to be?
Anything that's very creative and borderline inappropriate, that would be the one.
So the company is I don't know. Can you think of a brand?
A brand that would have me?
Yeah, I would probably do Grammarly because I suck so badly and I really I love the software that helps me with it. I would be an amazing presenter for you because even Grammarly sometimes cannot understand the words that I write down. Yes.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll have to think about it. You guys can write us which brands you think Michael would be good for. Okay, if there was a soundtrack, a music that would sound when you come into the room, what would be that soundtrack?
It'll be a heavy metal breakdown. I don't know if you know this, but before I was religious, I used to have longer hair and fake tattoos and piercings, and I was a frontman and rhythm guitarist at a heavy death metal band.
I really understand. Are we kidding right now, or seriously you were?
I was, yeah.
You were you're a headbanger.
The lead singer and that would do the screaming vocals and the rhythm guitar.
Such a nice Jewish boy. Where did you? Oh, cool. Well, you know that I think the Solan, the head singer of Kiss, is also.
Yeah, exactly.
His name is something very Jewish, and he's from. Okay.
In order to be old and wise, first you have to be young and stupid.
Oh yeah. Well, we all have done a really good job at that. What how should I say this? I don't want to say shady, but maybe controversial marketing technique would you want to use one more time that you haven't got to do?
okay, so it's not that I haven't done it. Guerrilla marketing is always something you need to do. You know, whether it's at conferences. There was some guy named Yam Regev, a CMO. He's a brilliant guy. He actually shared a story once of a company who just went and put lemons everywhere at an event. They put their own stickers on the lemons, and they just bought a ton of them for literally for nothing at a farmer's market, and they put it everywhere. And everyone's asking, "What's with the lemons? What's with the lemons?" And like their booth was like giving lemonade, and it's like, "Turn your lemons into lemonade. Buy our software for blah blah blah." And it just got them so much eyeballs and so much attention. It really didn't cost them anything, but it was just these small things of thinking outside the box. That's what makes all the difference. And a lot of companies are so like, they try to be buttoned up and professional, and they try to do what everyone else does. And that's what makes you invisible. You need to stand out. You need to be bold. You need to be brave. And you need to do things that are not conventional if you want to be successful.
Be a lemon if you want to be successful.
Exactly. When life gives you lemons, drink tequila with it.
Good one. Okay, so something that always happens is we're done. I'm going to say thank you to our sponsors, VEO, סוכנות קריאיטיב ותוכן שמתמחה בעולם של הפקת תוכן, וידאו, הפקות לייב וקריאיטיב, עבור חברות טק ואדיו, שותפה עסקית של ספוטיפיי. This has been a challenge for me, but I think we went through it really well. And
you did great. You're a natural.
I got stuck with a few words.
You know what? The next one I'll do in Hebrew.
That will be interesting, by the way. And before we started, I'm just going to end with that. I told you I actually wanted you to do it in Hebrew because I have this thing like where, you know, you live here, you need to speak the language. And then he gave me this really nice Hebrew speech and kind of said, I know how to speak Hebrew, woman. I just don't want to speak it when I talk shop, which is fair game. So thank you so much. And thank you for listening. Ciao.
Thank you, everybody.
עוד יותר, יוצרי התוכן של ישראל.